What's up, everybody? I have a very unique but important video for you guys tonight regarding where the game is at today and what it tells us about where the game is going. Now, I have a video on this about the brief history of UFL and how it's had its peaks and valleys already. You know my perspective, so I didn't just want to go back and look at my previous thoughts on the game and how that has changed for the better or worse. I wanted to provide you with an alternate perspective with someone who absolutely knows what they're talking about with football games. So, Nick runs the foot market, is typically an FC creator, but when UFL came out, he gave it a fair go, and at one point was streaming it literally every day. So it essentially took equal space with FC, which means he absolutely got to, understand what the game had that was good, what the game had that was bad. And I thought it was very interesting going only a month ago to his thoughts on the game and what needed to improve, what he liked. And obviously, we know the ending because he no longer streams UFL. Now, I'm 99% sure that I could be wrong. I know he has a couple of channels, but I'm 99% sure. It's just in case that 1% I'm wrong, I want to say check out for yourself, but 99% sure he stopped streaming UFL in total, which means obviously the game stopped being enjoyable for him. That could also have to do with the release of Team of the Year, very popular time of the year for FC. It doesn't mean, though, that as a full-time streamer, he couldn't have made time for UFL if it was still enjoyable, like it was for him a month ago. So it is very interesting to hear the things he says and where this game, where UFL has gone since then, as well as it sort of predicts the future, and you will hear why when we get to that. But let's hear from Nick now.
This game I'm having the most fun playing. I'm not losing my mind the most. And I think at the end of the day, no matter what, there's always going to be BS in a video game. My objective thoughts, though, is that like FC has gotten so intolerable. It's not fun. It's terrible. You don't even like to score. You don't like winning. I do have moments in this game that I really do enjoy playing this game. And I'll say that, for me, like whatever past that you want to say, that's just my internal feeling of somebody playing video games, playing all these football games over the years. I do have fun playing this game. So I don't want to see UFL go too noob friendly, get too worried about, making defending a lot better. I feel like there's a massive skill to defending in this game. It's still more skilled than either of the other games. eFootball at this point, you could put your controller down, your team will defend for you. And it's just so pay to win. And like good luck in FC. Something again about this game that I have been really enjoying is the concept of like just actually having space again on the football pitch. Like the ability that I have the opportunity to move. When I was playing FC yesterday, the space was so limited. You constantly feel like you have no space. It feels like the pitch is like half as big as this game. So, something about this game, that's another thing that I enjoy, that I have the ability to like, just move around a bit again and kind of think and make decisions. That was and there's random stuff like that I've been clipping. If I'm just showing you guys what I've clipped from yesterday, but there's definitely parts to this game that I'm really enjoying. And I'm not going to be the guy that's just going to sit here and rip on the game. Look, it's a free game. I think the marketing of it being fair to play is not really super accurate. I just would change the marketing, because when you enable people to be able to just go into the store and buy teams, that's not super fair. Just my thought process. But we'll keep reading through the Reddit. My initial thoughts are, though, that this game is really fun to play. I have fun playing it. It doesn't trigger me the same way that FC makes me mad. Like, FC just makes me so mad this year, bro. It's so not fun. And that's why you guys have seen me post this daily. I mean, I just played, in the showdown mode, I did have a loss that was deserved. The other loss was a little, like, I think the UFL needs to understand, the devs, that it's not acceptable if you have oh my God, my mic almost fell. It's not acceptable if you have a scenario where someone can just hold their center mid and like run around the whole game. I mean, that's not a good metric for a game's success, right? But this ability to like those quick passes there, I mean, like obviously, and then there's stuff like that, like non-registrations, weird animations, there's all that. But it's just even this concept again of like being able to pass like this. And I was saying this on stream yesterday, the fact that like decision making wise, I get so much success from like just left stick and passing, to have that back again, because that's what FIFA used to be. Used to be able to just left stick and pass, and like having breakaway speed again. There is a lot of positives that I like about this game. I think it's just about the devs like making sure they don't make this game too noob friendly. Definitely they need to work on overall responsiveness. Definitely they need to work on situational passing awareness with the players. I think they need to make sure this game doesn't turn into a situation where people want to turn and get OP midfielders and put their hands off their cursors on their defenders. That's unacceptable. That's what FC and eFootball is right now. We do not want that. It's gotta hone in on people actually defending the ball. I've started to notice with the recent buff in defending that it's gone a little bit that way. But you guys know me, man. I'm trying my best to respect, all right, these games, give these games a chance. I mean, at the end of the day, UFL has a lot of interest right now, you know?
So there you have Nick's opinions on the game a month ago. Now, a lot of the things that he said I agree with. The things that I liked about the game a month ago, didn't like, and all that. But here's the most interesting part. What he said about FC at the time, right? Because a month ago, it didn't release its post-patch, so it was still in the gutter. Post-patch comes, it's been amazing ever since. But what he said about FC at the time connects to where UFL is at right now, and that is a big concern, okay? So let's go through specifics. What did he talk about that he liked about UFL a month ago? The spacing. If you go back to my videos, I harp on how good the spacing was. When I say harp, I mean over and over. I just spoke about how amazing the spacing was. That creates a fun game. That creates opportunities for great passing sequences, great final passes to create awesome finishes, right? It creates opportunity to have to manually defend those spaces, tweak your defenders, and cover the right passing lanes and dribbling lanes. I talked about that over and over, right? Because it was so awesome to have, considering FC just totally ruined that. And he talks about that in the video, and guess what? UFL totally reverses and goes towards a defensive style in their game that literally helped crush FC. It was one of the biggest things that people hated. The AI help on the defense and the lack of spacing. So the defenders were so bunched up, plus with the AI help, it made it so teams who were dominating weren't getting the results. You could have no skilled players just sit back, let their AI do the work, let shots get blocked 100 times, go down and get their one glitchy goal. Sound familiar, right? Sound familiar? We looked at a lot of the stat lines lately. Now this last patch, the third patch, it did push in the right direction, whereas the previous two patches kept the game going in a bad direction. It almost made the game worse, honestly. It took out some of the OP stuff, mechanic-wise, but it also added in more bugs, added more ability to have these, I guess you would call them, cancers of the game be able to succeed. But guess what that means? The majority of your players who want to play good football, who want to have fun playing football, video games, right? They started hating the game. You can look through my comments and start seeing it. You can look through where my opinions and my confidence in the game started changing. And guess what else you can look at? The drastic drop in player usage. There's a comment most recently that I actually touched on in my previous videos, but I couldn't find the exact stats. And I can't say them off the top of my head, but I can tell you the amount of users that UFL has compared to the amount of games being played shows that a vast majority of players literally tried out the game and left. Hence, Nick, hence many other content creators that were big on FC that had interest in UFL and then liked what they saw enough to where, like Nick, for instance, you hear him say it. He streamed, and if he didn't say it, maybe that was in a different video, but you can go see, he streamed UFL a lot. Guess what? He no longer streams UFL. Now, it's a big time in FC with Team of the Year and all that, but it doesn't matter. As a full-time content creator, like many of the other ones that left UFL, they would have kept streaming the game if they felt it was fun, if it was worth playing. Just about all of them have stopped, right? The only UFL creators left are like myself and other creators that do FC also, but are more new, or I guess smaller, if you will, right? The big FC content creators that have a big footprint on that side of the game, on that side of the football gaming community, I should say, they've all left. And that's not a good sign, right? Because they would have stayed if they felt their viewers would have liked what they saw, if they felt that it was worth a game worth, continuing to cover because it was going to be around. So it tells a lot about where they feel the game is going, and clearly they know what they're talking about. I mean, they do this for a living. They literally play football games for a living. So he was talking about the spacing, right? He was talking about how much fun he had when he turned on the game, which it is all related, but I really felt that because you can actually look back yourselves and see where my confidence and my happiness and my excitement for the game starts to change. And many players that watch my content started noticing it and even thought like, man, you just like UFC now. Like, why don't you just go back there? Well, it's not about that. Yes, the game's amazing post-patch at FC, but it's not about just going back there because I don't like UFL anymore. It's because I see the path UFL is going down, and it's the same path but at a faster rate that killed FC over years, right? It took a while, but FC also had a ton of bells and whistles and stuff like I said, like putting lipstick on a pig to keep players around until finally it hit that point where they go, oh no, we need to change this. And they did. But UFL and the developers at UFL Strikers, they do not have that ability. They are not big. They do not have the resources, the money. And so the fact that they've so quickly gone down this path that helped ruin FC, right? There's correlations there, is very scary. So again, this last patch, it did push the game in the right direction, but there's still many things that make the game just not as fun as it was, okay? And it's like Nick said, when you turn on the game and you want to play it, right? And he compared it to FC at the time, which again was pre-patch, which was you turned on the game and you were frustrated, you were angry, and you get to the point where you go, why put myself through this? I'm done with this game, right? And it got to that point with UFL for me and for many others, but unfortunately, even though this patch pushed it in the right direction, there's still things wrong with it, and there's still many players who said, nope, I'm done. The difference, though, for me, is that I went into it knowing this is not going to be what I thought it was, unfortunately. And so I just look for any type of improvements to make it fun. For instance, I sold all my meta players, and I'm trying to challenge myself to win with these base type of players when all these other teams are now caught up to where my team was, right? Because I made the top division Premier League fast. And so I grinded the game a lot, but I also had to get these players to compete. Well, fast forward, and with the game being very thin, not many modes, and that correlating with the game going in the wrong direction, it became just pointless. And so I sold my players more in an attempt to show like it means nothing right now because the game's in such a bad spot. Doesn't matter what players I have, it's still going to be the same old thing. Now, the good news is there was a difference once I sold those top meta, particularly the attackers. But it's also a big reason why I'm still excited to play UFL now, because I have something to kind of look forward to, building my own meta players, grinding these players up. As far as the game, yes, it went in the right direction, but there are still these big issues that UFL must address. Otherwise, the writing is on the wall with the game. When you see players leaving that quickly after joining, right? When you see so many correlations to a game that before it patched, talking about FC, was literally on its way into just a complete burnout, and now your game's got correlations to that, that's not a good sign. So it's important to look at these things because we need to keep voicing these concerns and hope Strikers somehow can totally right this ship. By totally, I don't mean they're going to fix everything, right? You can't fix everything. But righting the ship means get it back to where players turn it on and have fun and have that excitement and have that feeling that was there when the game first released, right? One of the biggest mistakes is Strikers didn't stick to that initial vision they had. They tried to be yes men too much to the player base, right? And didn't look at just the main issues. They basically tried to say, let's help everyone, the casuals, the hardcore players, the this, the that. And again, splitting the baby, no one's happy. And that's kind of where they're at right now. So they have to untangle this web of mess and decide which issues to focus on, which issues to kind of put on the back burner, how to make the game deeper, right? Because it's very, very thin right now. Not much to do, easy to get bored of. They need to figure out how to get the game back to that, like I said, that initial buzz and making it as fun to play as it was, right? I can say what it needs to do till the sun comes up, but only the developers can change the game to where we turn it on and love the game again, right? And I'm not saying there's some players that don't, but it is definitely a minority if there are players that still have that same love for the game as they did when it first came out. So let's all root for strikers. I'm not saying based on this video give up on it. I'm still going to keep playing the same way I always intended to, but I did find it interesting, the correlations and kind of what that predicts based on where, Nick's thoughts were on the game a month ago, his comparisons to FC, right, and where FC was at that time, and where UFL is headed. So, to be determined.